Opportunist? More like unstoppable. Espathra's taken every chance to dominate with this insane new set. It's time to level up your game with Espathra. My opponent is leading off with an Ariados, most known for setting up those sticky web entry hazards. However, Lumina Crash has other plans. No Focus Sash, and that is a squash bug, ladies and gentlemen. I don't even mind the Life Orb hit. I'm anticipating my opponent to want to go out to Decidueye. It has super effective coverage on my Espathra, in the form of either Sucker Punch or whatever Ghost Stab that my opponent is packing, most likely going to be the Poltegeist. And thinking about that, I have something perfect for Poltegeist. This cheeky little rodent. This thing does not care at all about your Poltegeist. Not only does it not care, I am immune to it. You can terrestrialize and put your pretty sparkly flower on top of your head all you want. It's not going to make your Poltegeist hit. Ingredient just sits there and laughs at my opponent. My opponent's going to trade out the Decidueye here and go out into the Gourmet, which is going to be the Clodsire. Let's keep in mind of this little bit of chip damage as we're accruing over this battle. This Body Slam puts it in a nice range. A nice range for what, you might ask? Ha! You're right. We're going to crash the party again with Stabbed, super effective Lumina Crash. I don't mind the Toxic Spikes either. I can just bring in Victory Bell later to absorb them off the field. And ladies and gentlemen, that is a cooked brownie. It is done, it is finished, and another Life Orb hit separates us. You know, normally Espathra like to run those Calm Mind stored power sets, but I'm not about that life. I instead now decide to go out into Victory Bell, who actually I am super excited for the Mega coming into Legend ZA. I can take a Sucker Punch on the switch because I didn't attack. I can also just switch in for free, and I have pretty good base defenses. But I'm not sure what my opponent wants to go for, so I decide to go out into Emboar, who could probably take whatever Decidueye goes for. It works out well, because I guess my shiny blue flame forces him out into Corviknight? How about a Flare Blitz? Yeah, I forgot about that Cerule Edge in the back. He goes out into the Sleepy Cerule Edge, gets a Flash Fire boost, and that is going to boost his Bitter Blade attack. However, I get a nice spicy, heated crit on this Cerule Edge, and it triggers off its Wiki Berry. Bitter Blade does some damage, brings him above half, and I was thinking, okay, maybe a Reckless Wild Charge takes him out? Not without the crit, and I'm at the range that Bitter Blade takes my remaining 66 HP and puts my Emboar in the trash. This thing's not even at half health though. So, definitely going to be outsped by my Skittles, my Flamigo here. And my opponent decides to actually go for a Protect here. Not sure what's going on with that, but that's going to silence the Throat Chop on this turn. It's not going to connect into the Cerule Edge. I decide to again get that chip damage. Remember we were talking about chip damage, residual damage, as he goes back out into the Recluse the Corviknight. This Throat Chop brings it in nice range for some other attacks, but let me not get it too far ahead. I decide to go back out into my shiny Espathra. I actually really like those colors. And I do have the Roost, just like the normal small gun set does carry. And I can just Roost stall this Drill Peck really well, to the point that I can just either set up some Calm Minds and go for Lumina Crash, or just go for a couple of Lumina Crashes. But you know what I totally got to account for? Taunt I kind of accounted for, but I forgot about Corviknight's special ability, Mirror Armor. As I hit this thing with my Stab Lumina Crash, I'm going to get the -2 special defense drop. And I don't know if Lumina Crash will actually take this thing out. Maybe he thought he had something better to take this hit. I'm not 100% sure. But he's going to get a bit reclusive, swap out, and go out into Decidueye. And it doesn't take Stab Lumina Crash well at all. Bring it really low. I don't particularly have a good swap into Sucker Punch other than Skittles. I could definitely have swapped in here on this Sucker Punch and not lost Espathra for nothing. Because, you know, we were doing really good damage with Lumina Crash to different targets throughout the battle. That's okay though. I'm thinking, alright, I'm going to go out to Victory Bell. My opponent is low on health. Victory Bell has some pretty good base defenses for what it is from this Decidueye. This Decidueye doesn't have any boosts like Swords Dance, so we can definitely take some non-stabbed attacks like Sucker Punch. I decided to go for a Trailblaze here, get my speed boost as he hits me with a Poltergeist. And my Lychee Berry triggers off of my Gluttony, raising my Victory Bell's attack with +1 attack, +1 speed. Sucker Punch, not quite enough. A Trailblaze smacks this thing in the face. That's a +2 speed and a +1 attack Victory Bell. That is one scary Venus Flytrap. So, I totally forgot Cerule Edge could have, you guessed it, Shadow Sneak. So, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to see how much damage Leaf Blade does. However, I'm pretty sure it was quad resisted, even with the Lychee Berries. I'm pretty sure it wouldn't have done that much damage. However, if that outspeeds, I know Skittles outspeeds. And this time, I will be heard with this Throat Chop right to the gullet. Goodbye, Cerule Edge. No hope, no chances. And I love how much damage we put in with that Lumina Crash earlier, because it's going to give us the opportunity to go in for a close combat. I guess now Skittles is the co-star of the show, knocking this thing out with a close combat. That is beautiful, beautiful. And then we get the White Herb on top of that, as my opponent's final Pokemon is a shiny Carbink. Really, really love the blue coloration there. I do have 3 more Pokemon. I don't particularly want to go for a close combat because I'm not sure what this thing is going to do. Thought it might just go for like a Moonblast, but he decides to go for a Meteor Beam. And looking at the damage that I take from this Power Herb Meteor Beam, had I gone for a close combat, I most definitely would have fainted. However, now, close combat still doesn't knock it out, as a Moonblast, unfortunately, is finally going to get rid of my Dodo Bird. Goodbye, my Flamigo, my friend. And then I have Satitan, which, unfortunately for my opponent, outspeeds Carbink, but we also have an Assault Vest to take whatever my opponent is going to go for. With that, let's jump into Game 2, and let's just see how broken Espathra really is. Alright guys, Game 2, AC is going to be leading with Ting Lu as I lead with Espathra. Now I know Ting Lu hardwalls Espathra in every single way, especially my set. Can't really crash anything since Ting Lu's a Dark type. I decided to go out to Satitan. Even though he's going to get up Stealth Rock, Satitan can definitely do massive damage to this thing. And plus, whatever he swaps into can take some damage as well. As he goes out to Klefki, definitely probably should have gone for the Earthquake here as the Klefki swapped in. Now, I don't care too much about Klefki because I can just go out to Espathra. And my idea, since I swapped the item in this battle into a Metronome, which that item, the more times that you use a move in succession, the more damage it deals. And it happens to pair really nicely after a Calm Mind alongside Lumina Crash's ability to give the opponent a -2 special defense drop each time that they're hit with the move. So a couple Calm Minds later, I'm feeling really, really comfortable, as I know Klefki's standard doesn't run any attacking moves, as he just swaps out the Ting Lu straight away. I'm pretty sure that was obvious, but if I had the Dazzling Gleam and Terra Fairy here at +2, that would have been absolutely devastating for my opponent. Definitely should have doubled it, knowing that this thing was going to come back out and go for Whirlwind. I could have possibly got something in on it to do damage before the Whirlwind. But Emboar is dragged out, and Emboar does have a nice, super effective close combat for this thing. And I was like, okay, let's try something a bit different. Let's turn up the heat. Let's terrestrialize Emboar, our shiny Emboar, into a fire type. And I was like, okay, Ting Lu's going to take some massive damage from Flare Blitz. No. Not at all. The Reflect is up, and that's what I totally forgot about at that time. As I now get the Victory Bell in, and I don't really care that this thing has Reflect. I can just go for a Leaf Blade. I'm pretty sure he's going to want to swap out not wanting to take a super effective Leaf Blade and risk a Leaf Blade crit through a Reflect. Klefki comes in, doesn't take a crit, doesn't take any damage at all, and I get Emboar back out to have another shot to absolutely incinerate something. Something is getting incinerated. I don't care what it is. Something is getting destroyed with a Flare Blitz. Don't care what it is. Klefki, whatever he wants to swap into, which ends up becoming Pelipper. This ends up working out really well because Pelipper is actually a lot slower than people think. And this Flare Blitz chip is enough to make sure that for some reason, if he was to live a Wild Charge as a 4x super effective move, that extra damage through Reflect, of course, make sure it goes down. So Pelipper goes down. The rain goes up, So a bit of a damper on my parade of my firefighting, but now Quaquaval comes in. And I was like, I really don't have anything particularly to go into. Espathra is good here. I wish I wasn't paralyzed, but Aqua Step would raise its speed just a tad bit higher. And when I saw this Aqua Step, I was really scared of Moxie Quaquaval, but we'll never get to see it. On to Game 3. Game 3 is leading off with, of course, Espathra against Fluttermane. Now, the thing about it is, I have another really cool, cheeky rodent that just loves Shadow Ball. Greeting comes back out to take a Shadow Ball, and I was thinking, okay, Fluttermane can't do a whole lot to this thing. Moonblast does do a nice chunk, but it looks like after that defense drop with the Crunch, I would be able to take it out with possibly like a Psychic Fangs, but he sees this coming from a mile away and uses this time to Terrastalize into his Fairy typing so that he can do extra damage with this Moonblast and make sure he takes me out. And a crit to boot, so it wouldn't even have mattered if he would have Terrastalized. I decided to go into Titan because it has an Assault Vest and it's able to take most special attacks from whatever he wants to go into. I think Icicle Crash is just pretty safe all around. Mystical Fire coming in, special attack dropping, and the Icicle Crash, of course, ends the Fluttermane. Gotta love the work Titan puts in. I tell you what, Titan is one bulky guy. This thing gets over 500 HP at max HP IVs. That is absolutely insane. Looks like it's in the same classification as like your Chansey or Snorlax from the earlier gens. This thing has a ton of HP, and with an Assault Vest, it's pretty chunky too. So I was thinking, okay, I can easily take this thing out with a superpower, but I don't really want to deal with this thing's defense boosts. As he sets up an Iron Defense, I know at some point he's just going to go for Body Presses, but I get an opportunity to get off my Opportunist ability and get off those defense boosts of my own that I basically steal from him for free. Looking at this, another Lumina Crash will definitely take him out from this range with that Metronome item. However, the leftovers might bring it in a range where it's actually going to be able to live. And I'm hoping it doesn't, but it does not. So Avalugg goes down. There we go. Very nice. Gotta love that almost 2-hit KO on most things with that Lumina Crash, lowering the special defense. I can think of another Psychic move that isn't used much. Luster Purge. So Lumina Crash brings this thing down so low. And even a Population Bomb from a Wide Lens boosted Tandemaus stabbed without Terra, because of those defense boosts, I'm able to 2-hit KO the Tandemaus, or the Maushold, excuse me. The Maushold, 2-hit KO the Maushold with the Lumina Crash. So that is very nice. He decides to go out into Dragonite, which takes a pretty nice substantial chunk, and I was like, okay, this is going to be Extreme Speed, which I take it without Terra, and a second Lumina Crash absolutely devastates Dragonite. That is so many kills on the board in this series, and he didn't like it. So Miraidon comes in and ends off this electrifying series. Guys, let me know if you like Espathra. Let me know how you've been using it in the comment section down below, and if it's something that you used in the beginning of Scarlet and Violet's metagame. Take care. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.